Hi, good morning. My name is Charun. Today we will be talking about hash code and equals. Here is the one. Now, the main purpose of hash code and equals is that in case if we have the data duplicate records in the set, that is where we will be able to remove using hash code and equals method. Number one is that yeah. So the first thing is that using hash code and equals we'll be able to remove the duplicates, and it will these are the functions which are available with every object class, right? As you know, object is the topmost class of Java. Okay, now let us code, and I'll show you the example. Class test1. Now I will say public static void main string args. Then I will say, now what we will do, let us create an employee record class. Let's say employee 1, and it has couple of arguments like ID. Then I have it as name. Then it will be like department and designation. Now what I'll do, uh, so first what I'll do with the constructor without argument I'll create, or constructor with arguments I'll create. Right click on it, and then I will say source. Then I'll say constructor with arguments. That is done. Now couple of more methods we will generate, that is getter and setter methods and toString method. Getter and setter methods may not be required. ToString definitely. Let's generate ToString method over here. ToString. Yes. So the advantage of ToString is that whenever we call system.out.println and the object name if we give, it will print the content of that object in this particular format. I'll show you about that. Right. Now what I'll do, I'll go here and say that I'll create an object employee 1. Okay, I'll say employee set equal to new, okay, hash set employee 1, and then this one. So let us import this set. I'm assuming that you know set and hash set. Now set is a interface, okay, and we are creating a variable of it of type employee 1. New means it always allocates memory, and the moment you say new, that is you're allocating memory for an object. That means all the time objects are allocated on heap, right? So hash set, the main purpose of the hash set is to remove the duplicates. Now in case if there is a data of a primitive data type, like we have 8 primitive data types, that is byte, short, int, long, float, double character, boolean. So in case if it is there that the data is repeated, then hash set will remove the duplicates. But what happens in case if it is an object? Okay, if the object is there as part of a hash set, like couple of records are there and one or two duplicates are there, then how the hash set will not be able to figure out which attribute it has to compare for the as a duplicate. In that case, what you should do, you should start writing hash code and equals method. Now let us, what we will do, let us add few records. Charan, then IT, then I'll say full stack developer. Now what I'll do, I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'll add couple of records. Now I'll say 102, 103, 104, 105. I will change it as Pradeep. Here I'll say Anil. Here I'll say Jagdish. And here it is Shiva. Now 5 records, like what I'll do, I'll create a duplicate here, okay, or I'll add this. Right, now here, okay, having a hash code and equals without having a hash code and equals, let us do this. Okay, So let us iterate for employee 1, employee object. I'll say employee set. Now I'll say system.employee object. Now if I say this, now let us see how exactly it looks. Now when I print this, since employee means hash set does not know how to see whether the duplicate is there or not, which field is duplicate, it cannot. If it is a single field, okay, it can, but if it is an object, it would not be able to. Now let us see how exactly. You see here Shiva is repeating here and Shiva is repeating here. Now what we will do something called as hash code and equals, and override public int hash code. The main purpose of the hash code is to the main purpose of the hash code is to, like, return the unique id for that particular record. Now what I'll say, return id plus, okay, this or name dot hash code. So unique ID, it returns for that particular record. Now what I'll do, I will say at override public, okay, boolean, I will say equals. The main purpose of equals method is that it will verify the content of the data. See, that only difference between, see, if you look at here, there are two functions. One is equals and double equals. When you have double equals, when you say object 1 and double equals to object 2, that means to say it is going to refer, uh, compare the equality of the memory location, not the content of these two variables. Okay, address of these two objects. When you say obj1, you print, it will print. Now let us say, in case if I say, so equals, the functionality of equals is to compare the content of the object. Here we don't need to refer the memory location of the object. We need to look at this one. Now let us see if I will say object obj. Now I will whatever the object on the right hand side equal to, I will say this. Now what I will say is that, see how exactly it compares is, now let's say two records, Charan and Pradeep. Now the thing is, what happens is Charan by default it comes, and this second record will be sent as an argument. Okay, that means to say first, so if I, okay, I'll compare it now. I will say if this dot, okay, this dot id equal to amp dot id, and this dot name dot equals, okay, then emp dot name. So that means it is going to send the two records. Okay, first record, that means on the left hand side, this, let's say this is the first record it sends, and then obj, when you send this second record, it sends to compare. So these two records it will compare. Now let us see, we'll say, I will just say return true. That means to say, if it is id is returning, and if the id of the two records are same and name is also matching, then return true. That means these two objects which I am comparing is same. Now else I'll say return false. That means they are different. So now that is what I do. Now if at all you want to have a single return statement, then you can keep a flag here saying that uh, what is a return, so true or false you assign, and then what variable you can have it. So only thing is that in programming it is better to have a single entry single exit. That's okay when I talk about software architecture and software engineering and all those things, that time I'll talk about. But here now let's see, after adding the hash code and equals method, hash code will give a unique identifier for the id and name. Equals is the one, what it will do, it will compare two records and say whether it is the this one or not. So only if these two matches, then that particular time equals method is called with that data. Now let us see with after adding this whether it works or not. So we have two records of Shiva. It should go off. Okay, can you see this? Charan, Pradeep, Shiva and Anil. Duplicate Shiva is removed. Now I'll do one thing. I will comment it these two things out. Okay, I will comment out these two things and see. Now override means hash code and equals. Both the methods are commented out. These are the parental class methods. Whenever it wants to check whether the for the hash code and equality of the content, these two methods are called internally by Java. Now let us see. You can see that Shiva is here and here also it is 104 and 104 is there, right? Okay, now let us remove this and say okay. So save this and then let us do this and then you will not find, right? Shiva is only once it has come, right? Okay, so that's all about the hash code and equals. Thank you so much.